Hey, what's up, YouTube? I wanted to talk about something that has been sort of on my mind. This is very inspired by EO. He's a friend of mine. You can go watch his original video. It's going to be in the description down below, but this isn't going to be a reaction. It's just sort of, I want to spitball about my thoughts on it. And what EO and I talked about and what he made a video about was this concept of using 2-person teams instead of 3-person teams in Wuthering Waves and the benefits that can have, especially right now in the early game. Subscribe. And I'm gonna preface this with a couple of warning labels, okay? If you are a spreadsheeter, this information is probably not for you. If you are a hardcore player that really cares about maximizing damage, this information is not really for you. However, it could be, but I don't necessarily have the ability to talk on that. This is a video, a feels crafting, vibe crafting video for people who are C's get degrees type players in Wuthering Waves. This is a video for people who want to do enough and don't really care about the percentages in the Excel. And also probably for people who are maybe a little bit more busy and don't really feel like wailing on max refreshes in this game. I started thinking about this actually quite a couple weeks ago because I was really struggling in Tower of Adversity. And I'm gonna show you my progress for now. I will say that I have not worked on it very much because I get kind of tired of doing it and it hurts my brain. I started thinking about this in Tower of Adversity because I was really struggling with a level for like, I don't know, like 2 hours. I was struggling with the final level of the first half of the Tower of Adversity. It was this one, This Morning Aches, on the second half of the fourth level of the second, whatever this is. I was really struggling with this boss and I was struggling with this level because I just like couldn't get the damage out. I could complete it and I could get 2 stars, but I was struggling to get enough damage out to do 3 stars. And I was running this for like 2 hours, suffering. And my team previously had been Rover, Danjin, and Verena, which I was struggling with primarily, which I realized. I was struggling with the fact that like I couldn't get Danjin off field fast enough at that point because A, we'll be honest, skill issue, and B, like I just didn't fully understand how her combos worked together. And because my Danjin was on field for so long, it was just really apparent that she wasn't doing very much for my team. She's a lot more built now because she has a crit rate sword. This was not on her before. I think she had this Lumen Gloss sword before. So like she wasn't exactly slapping or anything. She was throwing a wet noodle at you and just on field for fucking forever because I couldn't quite get her combos down. And she also has some leveled echoes now, which she didn't really have before. This is a 4-4-1-1. So apologies if that's gonna upset you. Like I know that's really triggering, but I couldn't quite get her combos right. And it was really like, oh God, I was like so frustrated. And so eventually my chat was just like, bestie, why not just remove the Danjin so you don't waste all that time? Because my Rover, I'm gonna be honest, is pretty cracked. She's better now also than she was at the time. But my Rover has really, really good damage. She's obviously just like a Resonance Liberation nuke anyway. She's got crazy multipliers on her ult. And so like, I was finally, after 2 hours, willing to listen to my chat because oftentimes I ignore their suggestions because they don't always have very good ones. And after doing this for 2 hours, like absolutely suffering, I went in with that team, which was just Rover and Verena, and I beat it quite literally in 2 tries. This is not a joke. And I was like so shocked because in my mind, I was like, but I'm doing like, I need to get the intro skill and then the intro skill and then I have to use the Rover, but that's how you're supposed to do it. You have 3 team members, so I gotta do all 3 of them. It's not right. But the reality is I was just wasting so much time trying to get Danjin's intro up, struggling, and she was dying because she hurts herself because she's just silly like that. I just was not playing effectively, and then she wasn't even built enough to even make it worth her being on field like at all. I think that the real benefit of this like 2-player or 2-character team ultimately is the fact that you don't have to build 3 characters. Because we can all agree that leveling your characters right now is a bit painful. It takes way too long to level all of your characters effectively. And then if we get into trying to get good echoes, it's just pretty miserable. I have 2 characters that have fully leveled echoes, I think, which I think are only my 2 DPS. It's quite literally only my 2 DPS that have fully leveled echoes at this point because it's too fucking expensive and it's too time consuming, especially if you're trying to do 4-4-3-3-1-1. And so I think where this comes in is the fact that this allows you to invest going further into your account more effectively, because right now what you can do is you can just hyper focus on your DPS, and that means also if you want to finish Tower of Adversity, you only have to build 6 characters rather than 9. So what you can do is you can just super mega build the DPS character. So if you wanted to do, I don't know, from my examples, we're gonna do a Rover team, an Encore team, and a, I don't know, Gion team. I don't really use Gion. You're gonna hyper build these 3 carries. You're gonna level their echoes, you're gonna level all their skills as much as you can, you're gonna level their weapons, and you're gonna put as much resources as possible into those 3 DPS. And then the reality is in this game that like healers don't need that much investment to be effective. So if you have Verena, use your Baisha, and then if you don't have Verena, you can also use, hypothetically, a Zhang Jin, build her as a healer. I don't personally love this character. She's not my favorite, and I think that she's a little bit harder because you have to do her heavy attack to build up her shield and her heal, but that is an option for you if you have this character. You can additionally also use Tao Chi specifically. You could use her probably with your Havoc Rover and it would be just fine. Is this as effective? Probably not, but she's not too shabby, and realistically you can use more or less every character in the game. So those are kind of your healer options if you are somebody who is not confident in your ability to dodge and parry. I want to be clear, I am recommending healers to be your second pick if you are someone who cannot effectively dodge and parry, which I'm going to guess is a lot of casual players. Should you work on those skills? Absolutely, you should. However, if you are not very good at that, you're not confident in that, use a healer for your second character. Verena's gonna be the easiest because she gives you that big ol' attack buff. But if you are somebody who is a little bit sweatier, you're probably gonna know that there are other options you can pair here. If you don't want to use a healer with your MC, with your Rover, you could do Yin Lin because she gives you a boost to your Resonance Liberation damage and she gives you really nice off-field attacks. Or you could do Dan Jin is obviously the easiest pick. This is an extremely unsweaty option in my opinion because Dan Jin is hard and she's kind of spooky to play. But you can do this if you're confident in your ability to do her combos and dodge and not take damage. It'll be great. It's very doable. With your Rover, you could do, there's a couple of different options in here. It's going to be up to you. You can use Sanhua if you like to use her as well for those basic attacks. There are a lot of different things you can do for Rover. If you had Gion, you could obviously do Mortifi. There's going to be options. But again, if you are not confident in not taking damage, highly recommend that you use a healer here. But what this allows you to do is that you don't have to worry about getting this sub DPS to be all that effective. A lot of these sub DPS right now are sort of just there to get you the boost from their outro skill and get off field as quick as possible. This is true of Sanhua. In a Rover team, I think this is also true of like Danjin. You're trying to get them on field, get their outro skill, and get them off field as quickly as possible so that you have your healer buff and you have your sub DPS buff and you get to your main DPS with enough time to do all the damage you need to do. And it's pretty hard, especially when you might not have all of the mechanical skill to just get Danjin's outro skill off really quickly. I think that it is a lot more effective and a lot more efficient with your resources to choose to do these 2 character teams because then your sub DPS doesn't really need to do all that much damage. You get to get used to the game with a little bit of a comfier setup without having to worry about learning 3 characters and all of their mechanics. You can just learn 2. And you're probably going to get damage done a lot faster this way because if your MC does a lot of damage like mine does, my MC is hitting like 40k ultimates pretty regularly without 3 buffs, you know? If you have like a well-built main carry, my Encore usually uses Yinlin's weapon, so like my Encore is pretty decent. She's not crazy. I wouldn't say she's insanely cracked, but she is good. You can just have them built well. You can have your healers built enough to be honest, because healers, like, they're gonna do whatever they need to do with pretty limited resources in this game. Get them the right weapon. Variation is really nice because it gives you concerto. Got corrected on that. It's concerto energy. Getting that concerto energy more quickly is really, really nice for this as well, or just in general. This is just a nice weapon, but it gives you concerto energy to get them off field quicker. You get your outro skill quicker. And really, like, mine is not really built at all. Like, she has her set bonus and she has, like, more or less correct-ish stats. Like, really, she should have healing bonus here, but I don't feel like farming it because I'm lazy. And this should be attack. Like, these are not that great. They're also not leveled. And my Verena does more than enough for most of the things that I'm trying to do in this game. Right now, more so, my problem in Tower of Adversity is unfortunately one of the levels just sort of locks me out of doing it quickly enough. Because one of the levels has Havoc, strong enemies and fire strong enemies, which is really difficult when my two main DPS at this time are Havoc Rover and Fusion Encore. Very difficult. That's kind of my big, like, limiting factor at the moment. But my heals are fine with these being barely built, just with you having your Echo set bonus, having her leveled. I need to level Verena up a little bit more for sure. I just got level 40 recently, so I've been sort of working on my other characters first. But I think that this is a very good option, and it allows you to grow into the game with more realistic expectations, essentially, in my opinion. Because what this means is that, like, you can build a really solid DPS, you can build a decent enough healer, and then when you have the resources to put into a sub DPS, or you get a sub DPS that you'd like to use, you can build that into your play style, into your team, and not have to try to build all of these characters at the same time, learn all of these characters at the same time, and, like, be effective and fast with all of your rotations. You can just use 2 characters and have significantly shorter rotations because it's less characters. I guess that's my kind of thought on it. I think that there's definitely sweaty ways you could get into this. I know that there's some tech with, like, Yinlin and Calcharo, which is not necessarily to me that important because I don't have Calcharo. He's one of the only characters I don't have in the game, and I don't really care to play him. There are a lot of different variations of this. You can make this as sweaty as you want. You can make this as easy as you want. But I think that using 2 characters will give you the ability to maximize your resources and be efficient without no-lifing this game. Especially a really good example of this for the sweaty side of this is obviously going to be Danjin and Rover, because you could just farm, like, just a shitload of Dreamless over and over and over again. You could just farm your Dreamless and your Crownless. You could do 4-4-1-1-1 because they're Havoc, which makes it easier. You don't have to spend all of your time trying to get your 3 costs unless you would like to, which is your own decision, okay? I'm not gonna go back into that. We already have a video about that. But unless you would like to, you can just do a 4-4-1-1-1, get your Crownless, get your Dreamless. You should probably put your Dreamless on the top slot for both of them. Unlike me, this is dumb and bad, and I don't know why I have it like this. It's kind of embarrassing, to be honest. But you could just have it like this, and then both your Rover and your Danjin are going to get the damage boost to their Dreamless. I don't know if it's supposed to work like that, but it does. And it's gonna be fine. Granted, this is a sweatier team because Danjin is pretty difficult. But that's kind of like the long of it, really, because I've yapped quite a bit. I think that this is an option that people are sort of overlooking because they see maximal damage and this is how you're supposed to play and you have 3 slots, you should have 3 characters. But think about being able to get through Tower of Adversity and getting through more endgame content more quickly because you only have to build 6 characters instead of 9 for Tower of Adversity, and you can have a more effective main DPS, which regardless, most of the time, your main DPS is your main DPS because they do most of the damage. Like, my Havoc Rover probably does, like, 80% of the damage on a team, unless it's specifically with Yinlin, because my Yinlin's pretty decent. And so just make the best DPS you can. Get a healer or whatever your second character is if you want to try and sweat it out with a sub DPS. That's all you. Build them good enough and get into it. This is a great option for a lot of players. I think this is great for free-to-play people as well because it's just reducing resources. I know a lot of people are already doing that. But I think this is also a great option just for maximizing efficiency and having as much freedom to do things as you want, not having to, the squeeze for resources right now in this game is pretty rough. It's been a couple days since I got level 40, and I'm still not done building all of my characters up and getting all of their levels because I don't want to just use all of my cubes at the same time. And yeah, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. Like I said, this is not really necessarily like a maximizing damage guide. This is more about that, like, C's get degrees. How can we get the most out of the least? How do we get the most damage and the most shit done with the least effort and the least time and the least thinking? And I think this is one of those times. If you want to do valedictorian damage, that is all you, bestie. But this is about bang for your buck in terms of your resources and your time. So that's all I've got for you. I'm sorry if I've yapped a little bit too much to my editor. I have a tendency to do that when I'm a little nervous because feels crafting scares me after some experiences I've had. And I hope you guys enjoyed. See you later. Bye-bye.